I want to record a series of videos about the climate crisis and climate action and anything to do with sustainability for anybody who's interested as much as for myself. Starting with what the climate crisis actually is. In this video I want to talk about what is at stake, why we urgently need to take action, what we can do to tackle the crisis, and also hopefully create a better future. The basic problem is that there are much too high levels of production and consumption in industrial societies. These use enormous amounts of resources and energy, which are currently derived from fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas. Climate change takes various forms, and those can then look like drought, wildfires, extreme heat, storms, flooding. You may have had some examples of this in your own vicinity. So this can then have devastating impacts on society and ecosystems. There might be harvests that don't come to fruition. There might be floodings that take out whole towns. And it's usually low-income countries and marginalized communities that are most exposed to these hazards, but they are also the ones that are least able to protect themselves. So with the climate crisis, one of the most striking features is that it's the poorest communities that are hit the hardest, but it's the high-income countries that have caused the most CO2 emissions that cause the climate change. The other part that is important to consider is that it's not just the poor communities or ourselves in the richer countries that will be impacted by this. It will also be our children and grandchildren, and they will have to live with the impacts of our generations, and the havoc and the chaos and the destruction that the climate crisis can cause. So even at this moment in time, the planet is getting hotter and hotter. This can then mean that there's not enough water, reservoirs might run dry, harvests, like I said, might fail, food and water crisis can ensue. Down the line, this can then lead to entire regions becoming unlivable. And there are already cases of climate change induced immigration or migration of communities. Not only can we potentially see major food and water crises, but some regions in the world might become unlivable. They might get submerged, or they might just get too hot to live in. This might then mean that lots and lots of people have to abandon their homes and livelihoods and find new homes for themselves. Beyond that, there's also a large amount of animals, species that are affected and may perish. You might have heard of, the age of extinction that we are living in right now. So the one thing about climate change that we can't get away from is that everyone, everywhere will be affected. There is no getting away from it. There is a sense that if we all work together everywhere in the world, we can still stop it, and we can still stop global emissions and reduce them to zero. This should take various steps. We would need to rapidly phase out fossil fuels and replace them with zero emissions and renewable energy, such as solar, wind, hydro, geothermal. We need to transform our cities and our buildings, our industry, our agriculture, our food and transport systems. They need to start running on renewable energy, or use less energy and minimize their emissions as much as possible. So those are the major steps that are possible for us to affect climate change in such a way that it won't come to the worst. There's a problem with that though, because over the last decades, many governments have sided with fossil fuel industry, subsidizing them and allowing them to expand their production. There is a sense that a lot of organizations in power profit from the status quo and don't want to change anything. And there is, well, the rest of the world basically who want to protect lives, livelihoods, and nature. There is a lot that we can do to change, to positively change the situation. It can be little things. It might be a recycling habit that we develop. It might be urban gardening. It might be community-owned renewable energy or campaigns for better public transport, protests against fossil fuel infrastructure. There's a lot that individuals can do. There's also a need to reinvent our societies and communities, to think about the way we live, eat, work, travel, do business, redesign our cities and towns, and improve all the other things that may not currently work as well for most people as they should do. With this in mind, if we work our way through these things, do as much as we can individually, come together as groups, as communities, and try to influence our governments, we have a chance still to halt climate breakdown, to improve our people's lives, and to make our future more sustainable, livable, and better.